This is my cheat sheet for Monday, March 26th. It's more than just speculation. I'm talking about the run-up in oil prices. We've heard everybody from the president to any number of other analysts say that a lot of what we've seen in the price of oil spiking recently has been just the speculation that Iran might start shipping less oil, or that the Strait of Hormuz or something would end up getting shut down and you'd have less oil flowing through. It's not just speculation. Here's now what we know. It's now iron cold fact. I know that's not the right way you say it. I don't care. But the bottom line is Iran is shipping 300,000 plus fewer barrels of oil right now than they were before this whole standoff began. So there really is less oil going into the world marketplace. Now, it's hard to tell how much of that is Iran trying to play a little bit of gamesmanship, because that is their one their one chip, right, is the amount of oil they ship, and how much is actually sanctions that are going into place that are making it more difficult to ship oil. We know that Shell over the weekend, for example, was having a hard time trying to get $1 billion they owed Iran for oil to them because of all the financial sanctions and the ways you can't get money into Iran anymore. So it's something to watch, but it is real, not just the speculation. Now, to that end, cars. This is looking like it's going to be a record year of downsizing in the United States of America. We've never had a year where more than 15% of all cars purchased in this country were defined as small cars. Well, so far, year to date, that number is 24%. In fact, if you go back just 4 years ago, there were 30, quote, small cars you could choose from in the United States. That number is now up to 41. And with a quarter of all cars being purchased so far this year going into that category, well, you can probably bet that there are going to be more offerings coming up in the next couple of model years. It seems like people have started to get to the point to where they're fatigued. It's not just about, well, this too shall pass. People really are downsizing what they're driving looking forward. I don't think we're quite in the European territory yet, but we're definitely getting smaller here right now. Speaking of smaller, the pockets of youth in this country. This is one of the more sobering statistics of many that we've had involving youth. For example, youth unemployment rate's been over 24% much of the Great Recession and post. We've seen that number as high as 24.9%, which, coincidentally or not, was actually the overall unemployment rate during the Great Depression. So in other words, for those under the age of 30, it had been as bad as the Great Depression. It's pretty rough. Well, here's another statistic. Going back to 1984, this was the first time we measured the 18 to 34-year-old economic impact. When you go back to 1984, the number we see right now for the amount of inflation-adjusted income, real income, among those adults under the age of 34, we've never seen a lower point in our country's history. In other words, those under 34, well, the average person is just poor. And that's kind of difficult, because this has been a society in which parents over the years always wanted their kids to do better. And for a while, could expect as much, right? And oftentimes, earlier in life, because they're starting out so much further in their careers than many of their parents did. Well, that's not the case anymore. A quarter of all kids after college are going back home to their parents. But beyond that, 68% less inflation-adjusted income. That's how much less money kids have today. They're not kids, they're adults, those under the age of 34, than they did in 1984 when we started measuring that. 68% less money when you adjust for inflation. That is staggering. And it also shows you how much more difficult it's going to be in future years, planning for retirement for these individuals, paying off student loan debt. It kind of ties together all of the things we've talked about over the course of time. I also have a video on my cheat sheet today from Mitt Romney speaking to the youth voters. It's one of the best messages I've ever heard relative to why youth and politics need to be paying attention today. That's the cheat sheet for today. Enjoy yours. We will see you tomorrow.